This is Jason Markiewitz, the voice behind this wonderful audiobook, here with a special treat for you Forbidden fans out there. In only a few months, listeners around the world have showed how much they enjoyed Forbidden, the debut novel by author Peter Benedict, which has earned a 4.2 overall rating on Audible and earned the prestigious Audiobook Reviewer Choice Award from audiobookreviewer.com. So, to celebrate that success, we are excited to offer you a previously unreleased prologue to the book, which takes Perseus through one of his most challenging battles against a truly horrific foe. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy this prequel chapter to the fantasy romance thriller, Forbidden. I came to kill an angel, thus hoping to prevent another murder. Leaning back against an elm, I buried my hands in the depths of my ulster overcoat pockets and waited. Occasionally, I stamped my feet to counter the November London chill, shifting the rucksack carried on my shoulder. Ladies of the night hustled in and out of the Two Bells pub, a popular destination for the Judies as they plied their trade. Men of all stations ambled through the dark streets and thoroughfares. Those of a lower order seemed unconcerned about recognition, while the higher-class gentlemen moved with collars raised. A bobby strolling toward me slapped his nightstick in a beefy hand, a display of authority. With a watchful eye, he nodded. I straightened and lifted a finger to my forehead. "A good evening to you, Constable." He moved away, but would be back. The recent murders in the area made him wary. Within several minutes, my quarry appeared from the alley across Dorset Street. I recognized him easily, having seen his face in my mind's eye as he engaged in his beastly acts. He looked right and left. Then he turned and strode with a jaunty step toward the river. He seemed a dapper little murderer, with his Inverness coat and a bowler pulled down over his brow to cover his upper face, collar up to shield the lower. He carried a cane, which he swung carelessly. I followed briskly on the opposing side of the street. My steps increased to gain a position ahead. When suitably advanced and seeing no others present, I crossed to station myself in his path. After several paces, I turned to confront him. He sidled over as if to avoid me, but I sidestepped to block him. His body stiffened in anger as he took affront at my opposition. He sniffed. "Move aside, man," I said. "I can see by your shirt you finished your night's bloody work." He held out his hands in innocent protest. "Sir, I am a surgeon. What business do you have with me?" A strange surgery indeed, late at night, in the dregs of London. I don't believe she had need for your services. "You must let me pass. My wife expects me home." I chided him. "Does your wife know who you are? Murderer of women." "That is not funny, sir." "Do you detect humor in my voice?" His lips curled in a sneer. "Enough of this worthless talk. You waste my time." As with others of his demon kind, he exuded arrogance. With a droll look, I said, "You have truly little time left." "You dare to threaten me?" "I come not to threaten you, sir. I come to kill you." A cast of fear or anticipation passed over his face, but I could not tell which. Clearly he was a man used to having his want, not having others challenge him. "My man, you have made a grievous error." He shrugged off his coat, placing it carefully on the ground. He withdrew a sword from his cane, revealing a long, slender blade, much like an épée, a wicked-looking instrument. From his belt he grasped a knife with his left hand. My heart accelerated. In the past I engaged other fallen angels, and each presented a risk, although my presence bore witness that I never lost. The man, Jack, as the tabloids had named him, sneered. "My blade is quick, and you will now forfeit your life." I removed my coat and rucksack. "How so?" "My skills with the blade are renowned," he continued. "Patients come from all over the world to benefit from my skill. You, my presumptuous friend, will only see a quick exit to the grave." Brave words indeed. You do not know of me. I reached in my rucksack, and the ancient Greek harp sword's hilt slapped into my hand with the same firmness as a surgeon receiving a scalpel, a gift from my sister. As I withdrew it, he laughed. "What can that be, sir? Have you been frequenting museums? I shall hang it upon my trophy wall before this night ends." "And what shall be my trophy if I win?" I asked. He lunged forward without notice or warning, thrusting, seeking to end the fight by catching me unawares. His blade impaled me below my right nipple, penetrating between the ribs and emerging from the rear, having missed bone. Releasing the sword, he backed up, a wicked, triumphant grin on his face as he admired his victory. He said, "My good man, you should have learned there are no rules in a fight." He finished with a His smile faded as I continued to stand, looking at him with eyes that showed disappointment and contempt for his boorish behavior. Long ago, I became aware one cannot trust men when some advantage is at hand. I pointed a finger at him, and with my right lung compromised by the wound, wheezed, "You may be a surgeon, sir. Oh, but you are no gentleman." He replied smugly, "And you, sir, are dead." I looked down to see a red patch growing around the blade. After the initial shock, I experienced no pain. I waited to see what he would do next. At last, he saw something amiss in my failure to fall. He reached out and grasped the handle of his cane sword. He tugged tentatively at first, but it slowly slid free of my fleshy grip. When he had fully withdrawn the blade, blood spurted, but it stopped straight off. Because I still wore my shirt, he couldn't see the wound close and heal, but he took several steps back with a puzzled look. I remonstrated. "Sir, you tried and failed to kill me. Now comes my turn." Dropping both his sword and knife, he raised his hands. "Sir, we are well matched, and I see no further profit in fighting with you. I suggest we part now with new respect." Would that it could be so, but your slaughter of 5 women argues against any leniency on my part. "But, sir, you cannot know the outcome." Did he sound desperate? I nonchalantly swished my sword to the side as if to loosen my arm and wrist. "The outcome is known, Doctor. It simply has not yet occurred." "I am a surgeon, sir, not a physician." "My apologies." He grasped his shirt front with both hands and ripped it open to reveal a hairless chest. Pulling and tearing, he tossed remnants to the ground. He shook himself, shimmered, and snapped into his full demon angel presence. He had oversized teeth with a nose that sank in his face and threateningly large greenish wings with the remains of his shirt hanging like tinsel on a Christmas tree. His ridiculous appearance made me laugh briefly until his leathery appendages flexed, and he stepped forward to grapple me. I expected this. Demons grasp and hold tight with hands and arms, then use their wings to drain life away. Sometimes they rip out the victim's throat. Demons fight with a high degree of confidence. Who wouldn't, with incredible strength and fang-like teeth? Formidable weapons. With a resolve not to allow him purchase, I fended him off initially with my sword, nipping at his hands and wings. With a quickness that came from centuries of experience, I ducked and pivoted behind him. With a slash, my blade removed his head, which I readily caught as it fell. In the art of hand-to-hand fighting, I had no equal. At least I had yet to meet a demon who could best me. I dropped my sword into the rucksack, whence it disappeared. His headless body stood there for a couple of moments, wings flapping and still trying to clutch, before falling forward on his... well, he didn't have a face. As I watched, he returned to his human body. Without life, demons cannot hold their demon appearance. A police whistle shrieked. At the end of the street, a member of the constabulary stared my way. The bobby with the beefy hands. My choice of an isolated location clearly lacked the quality of discretion. "Oh, you! Stop! You there! Stop!" The whistle sounded again. Distant warnings answered. The bobbies would chase. I stuffed the demon head in my rucksack and ran. Like a fox with hounds on his trail, I ran up and down streets seeking a hidey hole, all the while those blasted whistles echoing among the buildings. I reached a dark alley with low fences on one side. I jumped and landed on my tail in mud. The smell told me that animals had lived there, and the soft ground under me held more than earth. The stink followed me into a shed, where I stayed most of the night. I had encountered police before. They were a problem. I had resolved to show more caution in how I took on the demons. In this case, I lacked the time to properly prepare, due to the frequency of his killings and my need to prevent further murders. In the morning, I made my way to the river, where I bathed. The ice-cold water penalized me sufficiently for my lack of caution and resultant police chase. I could not fully eliminate the odor of animal excreta on my pants. That undoubtedly explains why other passengers on the packet to France kept their distance. My return to the chateau was otherwise uneventful. My house staff made me undress in the stable and burn my clothing. I retained my rucksack, which contained only my sword and a copy of a recent book by Friedrich Nietzsche. The demon head had been taken from my bag by some unseen hand, as always. This has been a special premiere presentation of Peter Benedict's fantasy romance thriller, Forbidden. You just heard a previously unreleased chapter to the audiobook, and I know it made you want to hear the rest of the story. This book was written with a subtext of not only eliminating violence against women, but to bring to justice those who would perpetrate such demonic acts. Since 1981, women's rights activists have observed November 25th as the day to bring awareness to violence against women. In 1993, the United Nations General Assembly furthered the cause through Resolution 48-104. And since the turn of the 21st century, the period between 25 November and 10 December, known as the 16 Days of Activism, has been adopted as the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. It is our hope that this audiobook can, in some small way, help to get out that message as well. To hear the rest of this audiobook, please visit audible.com to get your copy today. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel and keep up to date on future events. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. On behalf of author Peter Benedict, this is Jason Markiewitz. Thank you for listening.